So I know no one's ever going to believe this, but I actually just did a level 4, like really well, and I recorded it, but I recorded the wrong monitor. So yeah, that was a bummer. Anyway, Joe from Coding Blocks, and I don't know if I want to try another number 4, just because I kind of feel good right now. I don't want to have one beat me up. So let's see if we can find something here on Code Wars again. Hopefully going to find a problem that is going to be something like you would face in a technical interview, and just want to get some practice here. And so I like to go hit kata, and you can sort and pick numbers and whatnot. But actually found a problem here that sounds kind of cool. Build tower advanced. No comments. So that's a good sign. And we're going to click it. It's level 6, so not too bad. All right, so we are going to build a tower by the following given arguments. Number of floors, always greater than 0. Block size with height, always greater than 0, 0. Tower block unit is represented by a star. This is sounding fun. JavaScript has to return an array. That's nice. I'm tired of returning strings. For example, a tower of 3 floors with block size 2 and 3 looks like below. So let's take a look at this guy. We've got 3 floors. We can see that there's 3 different sets of sizes. And 2, 3, what does that mean? Just going to look at our argument again. Width of 2, okay, and height of 3. So we can see that there's 3 rows in each story. And we can see that it indents in by 2. So, okay, so that's pretty cool. So that means that we know that our top floor is going to be 3 rows, because of 3, and the starting width is going to be 2. Then we're going to add, so the second story will be 6, 6, 6. Ooh, scary. And then we're going to add another 2 to each side, and we're going to get 10, 10, 10. So that's going to get real big real quick. And here's a 2, 1 example. Now, this is interesting because, okay, rows of 1. Yeah, all right, we're good. So, okay, cool. There's a more basic version. We should do that one first. Or we could take our code and then go run it over there and get extra points. All right, let's do it. See what kind of input we're getting. N floors. And n block size, and I believe n block size is an array. Take a look at our test, which they have provided. Thank you very much. JSON.stringify. So I think the hardest thing about this is probably that we need to figure out how to space this stuff out. And I'm kind of wondering if we can either just do a little bit of math to figure out what the last row size is going to be, so we know how to center that first row, or alternatively we just kind of add our whatever's add row by row and then go back and center it later. I don't really like the idea of centering it later, so let's not do that. Now the question is, do we want to build this from top to bottom or bottom to top? I kind of feel like if we're figuring out what the max size is, we might as well start at the bottom. And I don't know if I like that or not, but we'll find out. So to figure out our bottom row here, let's take a look at these examples. It's going to be, I'm going to go ahead and get my width and height out of here just so I can talk about them and think about them logically. Also, I hate this Hungarian notation, so I'm going to try not use it as much as possible. And let's see, width. Is the width the first number or the second number? Width and height is first. My setting variables, I never have to think about this again. All right. So the array length, floor size, of the bottom floor is equal to my width times Hungarian notation again, end floors. We'll go ahead and leave that one because who cares? And let's see if that's right. So in our example here, we have a width of 2, check. We have 3 floors. I didn't do it right. And that is because we need an extra width in here. For the first floor. So let's just take a peek. There's something not right about this. All right, so we want width of 2 times the floor, so there'd be 6. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we've got an extra 4 on there. And so our width was 2 times 3 equals 6. But then you've got to add on. Why is this hurting my brain? This is embarrassing. So width, we add the second row, we get the width again, plus is it width times 2 plus number of floors? No, something's not right here, guys. And when your brain's no worky, we can try a few things out. So this bottom floor is going to be 10 for this example. So my width is 2 times 2 because we have a buffer on each side. So we get a total of 4 times n floors. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. 3. So this is just not correct. Let's just try thinking about this again and less guessing. This is the kind of crap that it's easy to get hung up on. You want to make sure you get it right, especially in an interview. It's tempting to kind of rush through it, but that's no bueno. So the width is 2. So the floor size for the first floor is width, right? Now, for the second, it's width plus width times 2, right? And that's because the little wings here on the side. Oh, interesting. All right, so let's go for that third floor. I'm just going to label these. I'm not going to keep this as code. This is just to help me kind of think about it. Make sure that I really understand the problem and I'm able to do the problem kind of by hand before I try to automate it, which is always a good plan. So you don't want to solve the wrong problem or find out that you can't solve the problem where you're trying to do it. All right, so it's that 2. No, it's the result of the second floor plus the wings. So let's write it like this. So the floor is always equal to, the floor width is always equal to the floor before us plus the width times 2. All right, so that's a nice pattern. And this kind of pattern makes me want to build it procedurally, but then I have to know, I have to figure out a formula for this guy. Man, I wish I had that video of that level 4 problem because I did so much better on it. Thinking a bit. I really need to know that last floor number, and I don't want to have to loop to do it. I feel like there's some sort of easy summation or something that I should be able to do here. But let's just move on, and maybe we can figure out something better here. But I do feel like there's going to be an easy solution. But in an interview, you don't want to, spend 20 minutes just trying to get a slick answer for the first part of the problem. It's more important just to get through it. A good old for loop. So I'm looping through the number of floors. And I'm going to make a floor width. I like it in the for loop even though it gets hoisted up out of there just because I feel like it's more readable. So my floor width is equal to the width times I, which is my current floor. So let's go ahead and rename that. Anything to make it less confusing. Important to note that I'm referring to the current floor. Let's go ahead and set it to be 1 base, and we'll do less than or equal to, just so it's kind of, it's moving the code more towards the model, the domain of the problem. And I may end up regretting this because I'm so used to thinking arrays being 0 based that I may shoot myself in the foot later, but whatever. Let's just go with it for now. So floor width equals width times 1. So for floor 1, 2. Floor 2, it's going to be 2 widths plus 1. Floor 3 is going to be 6. Make sure we got this right because I think I'm doing it wrong again. 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus 4. All wrong. So I'm going to cheese out and just keep track of it. I am really hating myself here. And I know that I'm going to see the results when I publish this. I'm going to see someone doing this on a one-liner, and it's going to be eloquent and beautiful and make perfect sense. And I'm going to hate myself. And then I'm going to get over it really quickly. Let's go ahead and keep a previous score. Previous floor width. Set it equal to 0. And so our floor width is the previous floor width plus width times 2. I like to do parentheses, especially in interviews. I just feel like it's more human readable. That's important. So now I know my floor width for each floor. And so what? So that's going to allow us to solve this problem in a really ugly way. I'm bringing this out of the loop because I want to use it later. Again, it gets hoisted anyway. No lexical scoping, but sends a signal to the reader for what your intent is, which is good. All right. So let's just walk through this real quick for this first example. Current floor equals 1, less than or equal to n floors, which is 3, and current floor plus plus. Floor width equals previous floor width, which is 0, plus width times 2, which is already incorrect. Oh my gosh, guys. And then we want to store that previous floor width. So it's not always the width it's 2. So let's go ahead and set the width for the first floor just equal to width. And, oh, this is getting so ugly. I don't want to do that. I don't want to set this to 2. But I'm going to do it. So I may have problems if there's a 0 level floor or a first level floor because I'm assuming that there's at least 2 floors, but if there aren't, this isn't going to happen. So this stuff should still be set correctly. So let's take another look at this and make sure we're on the right track. My previous floor width is equal to width. my current floor width is equal to width. So that's the first floor. And oh man, that's confusing, isn't it? I am talking about this like it's the first floor because it's the first top to bottom, but really it's the top level. So that's pretty gnarly. I do like this problem, but it's kind of hurting my brain a little bit. So I'm probably doing everything exactly wrong. But let's continue. All right, so as we go along, floor width equals previous floor width, which is width plus width times 2. Okay, so my floor width would equal, for the second floor, 2 plus 4, so it's total 6. And when we go on it, it's 6 plus 4, total 10. So it looks good there. I'm feeling it's going to be there, good there too. Let's just try it out. Width is the first, so that's going to be 2. As we get 2 plus the wings, total 4, so we get a total of 6. So it's basically the same thing, because it's the same width. It just different number of rows here. So all of this was to get me this number right here, the floor width. And that lets me know for the bottom floor of this tower how many digits that needs to be. And those are stars. So let's go ahead and start building this thing up. So I'm using I, and I needs to be less than the number of floors, plus plus. And let's go ahead and call this floor again. All right, now we've got a number of rows, so var, oh gosh, height, what do you call that? I hate that. Let's just go with height. Height is less than, I've already defined that variable. How do you divide height? Let's just call it row. For row is less than height. Row plus plus. All right, so we're going floor by floor, we're going row by row. Now what? Now we need something to return, and we do want to return an array. So now we've got to figure out how many stars and how many spaces. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and plug in all the spaces, or all the stars, and then we'll go through and chisel out what we need. So it's my doggy equals 0. I less than floor width plus plus. Line equals, and I could do a string there. I just hate working with strings just on principle. So I'm just line dot push, and we're gonna do a star. All right, and then once we're done setting all the stars, we're gonna push that line to our result. Okay, so a couple problems here. Where it's going to be one big solid block. It's not going to be this cool little temple shape. And, you know, even though we start the floor at 0, we're building this top to bottom right now. So either we're going to want to reverse this or we're going to do something crazy with the chiseling. So let's just make sure what we've got so far is working. I should see a big block. All right. Oh, I forgot about all this crap. This is just some brainstorming. This is star, and because I insist on working with arrays, and then I don't do it properly. So now we want to join the array that I created by nothing. So the first example worked, the simple 1 by 1 by 1. In the second case, expected a nice temple, but we got exactly what we expected, which is like big, thick blocks equal to the bottom floor every time. So now it gets a little trickier. Now, based on the row, or rather based on the floor, tricky, we need to skip some of these stars. So how do we do that? Well, if the row equals 0, which we skip the most stars. Oh, you know what, man? I think I might super cheat here. I'm thinking, rather than doing the math down there, I could just keep track of how many stars I need, since I know it up here, but I know the width. It's pretty cheesy, though. It's pretty cheesy. I'm going to do it anyway. Makes you kind of wonder why you don't just do everything there. And it's all because I don't know that number. All right. Anyway. Var widths equals an array. And there's some stuff I could definitely clean up here, but we're just going to go ahead and push that floor width, which needs to happen after we set it. Oh man, this part is so nasty. This is just embarrassing. Because I'm starting at index 2, that means I need to set that guy right there. Whew, man, that is way too much for a level 6. Got a bad feeling about this. Alright, so anyway. Okay, so for each of our rows, actually for each of our floors, the space count is going to equal our floor width, which is the bottom floor, minus the widths at my floor. Okay. This is so grody. So now what I'm going to do is if, and space count, so floor width on this first, let's take a look here. Floor width here is going to be 2. And the total size here is 10. So I've got 8. So what I actually want is this number divided by 2. All right, so that's going to get me down to 4. So now I know that if the space count is if I is less than my space count, then I need to push a space. Okay. Else, if I is less than space count plus floor width, floor width is not the right variable here. What am I looking for? I'm looking for that width at floor for my current floor. Then I can push that. Else, anything left, it's just going to be filled with spaces. All right. Oh goodness. Wrong button. All right, so I expected a star and instead I got a blank. So this is one of those off by one errors that we always like to joke about. So let's figure out where. And I try not to resort to console.logs too soon. I like to try and figure out. I feel like it makes my brain stronger. Floor equals 0. Floor less than n floors. Floor plus plus. My floor is 0. And I'm expecting this to be the very top floor of the building. That's confusing. My space count equals floor width, which is in this case is 1, minus the width's floor, this floor, which is going to be 1, divided by 2. Odd numbers. Haven't really thought about that. Yes, this is interesting. Floor width, and it's because floor width is 1 minus the width of floor, and then divided by 2. So that's going to be a 0 divided by 2, which is better than 2 divided by 0. So there we go. All right, so those are pretty good tests. Let's see how we do here. All right, we passed 162 tests. So this is a valid solution to the problem. It's just not pretty. And if I felt like it, I would spend some time cleaning it up and thinking about it. But I kind of just want to see what other people did. So I'm just going to go ahead and submit final. And if I were in an interview, I would talk about how I feel like I could figure this out mathematically and get this down to one loop. But ultimately, it's not terrible because... and I feel like it's not terrible because I am looping through the data set of n items one time here, and essentially another time here. And so the big N or the big O time isn't dramatically affected by this. So I feel like the performance isn't really going to be that significant, and I could definitely spend some time and get it cleaned up with, but rather move on. So let's go ahead and submit this baby and take a look at some beautiful solutions. Look at that, fancy. All right. And they have figured out how to do this very mathematically. And yes, very much more eloquently than mine. And that's okay. No level up yet. All right, guys. See you later.